Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy you're here, and if you're new, hi, my name is Anna. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's been so long. I'm so excited to be recording again. Like, I can't even believe I just pushed record and my baby's sleeping at the same time. Hopefully she stays sleeping so that I can finish this video, so that I can start editing, because of course everything's gonna take longer right now with a newborn baby, and that's where I've been. If you've been wondering, or if you're new here, I just had a baby July 2nd. This is the first time I've filmed in almost a year because I was super sick when I was pregnant. If you haven't seen my first trimester video, go take a look at that. But honestly, after that, I was not able to film because I just was so sick all the time. So as I get ready today, I'm going to tell you guys all about Amelia's delivery and my labor experience and all that. So I'm not going to say anything about the makeup. It's just something for me to do and like for you guys to kind of watch as I tell the story. I just feel like it makes story times a little bit more interesting. I am going to drink Starbucks water as we go through this video. I know that we are boycotting Starbucks, and I was boycotting them until I had a newborn baby, and they are the only coffee shop in my town with a drive-thru. Literally the only one. And selfishly, I just needed a drive-thru. And I also needed caffeine. If you know, you know, right? Like, caffeine is saving me. Where do I even begin? Also, this makeup probably won't be that good because I'm just doing it in my mirror. So if I'm looking here instead of here, it's because I'm using my phone as my mirror today. I was gonna film in my guest bathroom, but it was very echoey, so this is what we're gonna do for today. I have to, film quick while she's sleeping, so I didn't want to spend like all my time just setting up. I just wanted to get right into the video. So with that said, let me start with the story. I was 37 weeks, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, your baby could come anytime, your baby could come anytime. Like, my baby came 3 weeks early, my baby came 2 weeks early, so on and so forth. So I fully expected to just like have her quickly. That did not happen. So, we got to 40 weeks, we got to my due date, and I had an appointment at our OB office a day after my due date. So I was fully expecting, I was gonna get a membrane sweep. I was going to, I signed up for an elective induction list. I was even like, maybe they'll send us there today, to labor and delivery. We got there and they checked me and I was 0 centimeters dilated. So they couldn't even do the membrane sweep because I was not dilated at all. And in order to do a membrane sweep, you have to be a little bit dilated. So they couldn't even do that. And that was really discouraging because we just were waiting for our baby for so long, it felt like. And to already be past the due date and be a 0 and then not be able to get the membrane sweep, I was just super disappointed. And Chandler was disappointed. Like, we just felt discouraged kind of because we just had been waiting and waiting. And I think it was almost worse too because everyone was texting us like every day, and I know they were just being supportive, but it was just like a constant reminder that our baby wasn't here. And I don't hold that against those people. I know they were just like being nice and they were excited, but it was just, we were just feeling really sad about our baby not being here yet. So then they also scheduled me an induction. So there's 2 separate lists, or 2 separate inductions, I guess. There's the elective list, and then there was a scheduled, like, before she gets to 41 weeks, or at 41 weeks, we need to get her induced so that she doesn't reach 42 weeks, because they were telling me that if you wait until you're 42 weeks, your placenta gets old and your risks of stillborn and complications rise. So I had a scheduled one. They said they don't really call people off the elective list because they have all these scheduled inductions, and then obviously people are coming in for labor and all that. So we were like, okay, we're trying not to get our hopes up, and every day that passed, we're like, maybe they'll call today, and they never did. So then we finally got to 41 weeks and 1 day, and that was our scheduled induction, but I still had to call at 6 p.m. and see if we could come in to make sure they weren't too busy on that floor, to make sure that they could, accommodate us. Thankfully, they told us that we could come in. So we go in at 7 p.m. and we were like, we're gonna have this baby tomorrow, we're like telling all our family, like, okay, you can probably come tomorrow to meet our baby. The nurses tell us that it could take days to be induced, because they checked me when I got there and I was still at a 0. Still at 0 centimeters dilated at 41 weeks, 1 day. And they're like, okay, this is your first baby. You're at a 0. This induction could take days. They're like, the longest induction we've had is 5 days. I was like, no. What? And Chandler and I think we're both just shocked. Also, don't mind my nails. I'm getting them done tomorrow. They're not cute right now. 2 are off and they're so grown out and they're so long. I need to get my nails done, but I am tomorrow, so we're all good. So that we were not expecting. We're like, okay, this could take days, because they had a medicine that could take 12 hours, and then they also had a medicine that can take up to 24 hours. So if they had to ask the doctor which medicine they're going to give me, and if one doesn't work, then they would have to try the other one. And so obviously that's why it could take days. They decided to give me the 12-hour medicine, and it had to go up inside of me. That was very uncomfortable, just because I was at a 0 and I had a lot of people in there. So they gave me the 12-hour medicine. So we had to sleep at the hospital that night. And I was like, oh my gosh, please let this medicine work, because the bed was so uncomfortable, because it was a labor and delivery bed. And they were like, these are not very comfortable because they're made for labor. Like, they don't want them too cushiony, I guess. I don't know. We woke up that morning, and at 8 o'clock, 12 hours later, they checked me. Thankfully, I was 1.5 centimeters dilated, so they could give me Pitocin, because they couldn't give me Pitocin if I was still at a 0. They would have had to give me the 24-hour medicine, or the oral medicine. It's not guaranteed a 24-hour medicine, but it can take up to 24 hours. So they gave me Pitocin through an IV. I started having contractions. Holy crap. I did not know contractions felt like that. Wow. It was fine at first, and then they were getting more painful, and so they were like, do you want this laughing gas? Obviously, they said the correct word for it. I just didn't really know. And Chandler, my husband, was like, why don't you just try it? So I tried the laughing gas, and I was really bad at like doing the mask thing. Chandler was guiding me through it. Like, take a deep breath, like breathe it in. And I was really trying, but it tasted awful. And I was just like, I think taking short breaths. Well, sometimes once in a while I would do it right, and I felt it in my head. And it kind of took the edge off, but obviously it doesn't take the pain away. So I'm not really sure how I feel about that. It did help us pass the time, if anything. So they checked me again, and I was at a 4.5, because the laughing gas was not working anymore, and I was in pain. Then they were like, if you want the epidural, you could get that right now. So the anesthesiologist comes in and is, giving me the epidural. That was crazy. It didn't hurt, and I was just so ready for it. The worst part was I had a contraction in the middle of them doing it, and you have to like hunch your back, and I had to stay in that position while the contraction, was contracting, while the contraction was doing its thing. And I had to stay like that, and it was so painful, and I just wanted to, move my body to get through it, but I had to breathe through it. And then there was at one point, the needle, not hit a nerve. I don't know what it did, but I felt it, and I was like, ow, 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 ow. And he's like, where do you feel it, blah, blah. And ended up being fine. I was just, I think, really panicky. I felt nauseous because I was so nervous for the epidural, but it was fine. Well, then, scariest moment of my life. This is only probably the 3rd time I've talked about it without crying, because it was so scary. They couldn't find Amelia's heart rate or heartbeat or whatever. And so, obviously the monitor was quiet. I felt really dizzy, and I just didn't feel right. So I was like, okay, I'm really dizzy. And they're like, okay, lay back. So I laid back, and obviously they couldn't find her heart rate. And I could feel the nurse, with the Doppler thing, getting more aggressive on my belly and, trying to find it. And I was just really dizzy. So she all of a sudden became very assertive, and she was like, so-and-so, go get blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden there were 8 people in the room. She's telling someone to give me oxygen, and so someone's giving me oxygen. And then the anesthesiologists were giving me blood pressure medicine because apparently my blood pressure had dropped a lot. So that just affected the baby. So they were giving me blood pressure medicine. She hands the Doppler to someone else, and then this new nurse is like, you know, trying to find my heart rate. Everyone's doing something. And I'm just looking at Chandler like, this can't be happening. Like, this cannot be happening. It was like everything was moving in slow motion, but I was also so dizzy, and I also had an oxygen mask on. I don't even know how long this lasted. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you because I was just so scared and so like, oh, please, like, I hope everything's okay. Like, we're, you know, it was nice because I knew all these nurses could take care of me. And then like the blood pressure medicine started working, and then they found the nurse with the Doppler was like, your baby's gonna be okay. And all of a sudden you could hear the heartbeat again, or the heart rate. And so I asked her, I said, is my baby okay? And she looked at me, she was like, yes, your baby's okay. And I asked her, am I okay? And she's like, yes, you're okay. And then a couple minutes passed, and you know, everything kind of slowed down and everything was fine. I asked her again, like, is my baby okay? And she's like, yeah, your baby's okay. So that was really scary, and I never want to experience that again. So that was almost an emergency C-section, I learned later. Anyway, then I felt great. I felt no contractions. My whole right leg, I couldn't move. It was dead. Like, I had to have them move it every time they wanted me to roll over or whatever, like to get labor progressing. I was like, you have to move that leg because I can't feel it. And it was great. Like, I would get the epidural, even though that scary situation happened. I don't know if that would happen again. And they had it under control. Next time, I just would never wear jewelry to the hospital. I had asked if I could wear my jewelry to the hospital, and they said yes. But in that moment, I was like thinking about my baby not having a heartbeat and all this wasted time that we would have taking off all my jewelry. Like, that's all I could think about was like, if we have to go to an emergency C-section, I have to take out all this jewelry. Meanwhile, my baby doesn't have a heart rate. Some people are working in our house. If you see anybody, there's painters here. I would get the epidural though because I couldn't feel any contractions, and they were like, just let us know when you feel pressure. And so a couple hours later, I was like, okay, I'm feeling pressure. And so they're like, okay, let's check you again because it's been a while. They so casually were like, you're at a 9.5. Chandler and I were like, what? A 9.5? Like, it's about time. They start getting the room ready, and I'm like, holy crap, this is happening. Then I feel so much pressure. Holy crap. You guys, I knew that the epidural didn't stop pressure, but I would call that pain. The pressure was so great that it's like you're in pain because the pressure is so bad. I did not know that. Like, I didn't know how much pressure to expect, but holy crap, I could not explain that to anybody. No one could have explained labor to me because it is the hardest thing I've ever done, like, in my whole life, but also so empowering. I don't even know. It's just crazy. It's the most wild experience ever of all time. I'm feeling so much pressure, right? So then I'm telling them, like, I need to push. I feel like I need to push, like, really bad. The nurses are like, try not to push because the doctor's busy right now delivering another baby in another room. What? Try telling my body that, because my body was like pushing for me. Like, I wasn't even pushing, it was just pushing. For 20 minutes, I was like gripping the side of the bed and I was bawling because I was so panicked because the doctor wasn't here and the nurses were not acting confident in delivering this baby. And later on, a different nurse actually apologized. She's like, I'm so sorry that happened, because every nurse in here should be able to deliver a baby. So she was like very apologetic about that. But anyway, going back to the story, they were not acting confident because there were 2 residents in there as well. They were like, you can push, but we don't have a doctor here. So I was like, this could take how long? Like, this could be an hour, this could be 10 minutes, this could be 2 hours. Like, you don't have another doctor here? Like, I am in labor, my body, and I was like, my body's pushing. And so I was for 20 minutes just like trying to get through these contractions without pushing, without holding it back, but just doing nothing. It was so hard. I'm not even gonna do my mascara because I feel like I look okay and I just wanna talk now. Plus mascara, like I would have to get up really close and personal. Finally, the doctor comes in. I've never been so happy in my entire life to see somebody. I was like, it is go time. Like, my body's pushing. And she was like, okay. And so then I have, 2 people, 1 person on each leg, and I'm pushing. It's the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my whole life. I pushed for an hour, and they were having trouble getting the heart rate again of the baby, because I'm saying the baby instead of her name because we didn't even know what gender we didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl. They were just having a hard time keeping track of her heart rate. I don't know if it's because she was so low or because, I think it was because she was so low. Chandler said at one point I pushed and her head was like halfway out, but then I couldn't push anymore and it like slipped back in. So I had no idea how close I was, because every single time they were like, good job, Anna, good job, like harder, 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 good job, you're doing great. So like every time I pushed, they're like, good job, you're so close, you're so close. They kept saying that, and it's like every time I push, you're saying I'm so close. I also didn't know that you only got 1 breath in between 10 seconds of holding your breath and pushing as hard as you can. And like that takes so much out of your body, and then you're like, and they're like 1 breath, push. And it's like, how are you supposed to do this? Like, this isn't even humanly possible. Apparently it is, but I always took 2 breaths. So I would be like, and they're like, push. And I would always sneak in a second breath because I had to breathe. And so near the end, I was like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And I just kept looking at Chandler like, I'm so tired. I kept saying that because I was feeling like I couldn't do it anymore. And so then the doctor was like, are you okay if we use a vacuum type tool to get the baby out? And I was like, yeah. And she didn't do that. We went through another contraction, and she then was like, are you okay if I do an episiotomy, which is just a small cut? I was like, do anything. They cut me, and the next push, Amelia came out, and they put her on my chest. It was just the craziest experience of my entire life. And during labor, I had told Chandler, like, I am so sorry. I can't have any more kids. This is the only time I can do this. And now looking back, I'm like, I kind of want to do it again because it was so insane, so empowering, and just the moment they laid that baby on me, like, it was all worth it. The doctor is like, this is what we call a lucky baby. And she held up the cord and it had a knot in it. Thankfully, Amelia's healthy and fine, but that could have been, its own problem. And then Chandler cut the cord. He almost cut it in the wrong spot, but because he didn't know that they only clamped like this much, and I didn't know either. I guess I thought they clamped like probably this much, and so did he. So he just was starting to go in, and he's like, they give you the tiniest little scissors, and the doctor's hand was like behind it, so he felt like he was gonna cut the doctor's hand. Then took her over to like the little care unit thing, and I could tell that something was wrong. Like there were a couple more nurses than I thought there should have been over there, and I could tell that like nobody was panicking, but they just were taking a little longer with her. I just heard her. Please let me finish the story. So They said that she swallowed meconium in my tummy because she was in my stomach for longer than her due date. And it's very common with babies that go over their due date. So she had swallowed some meconium, so her lungs needed more help than normal. So I threw up afterwards and I hemorrhaged. They were like anything over 600 milliliters, I think, is a hemorrhage. And I was at 950 something. And they were like, don't worry, we don't get really concerned until you're at 1,000. Like, okay, they just were monitoring me extra. They had to push on my uterus more than normal, and that was so painful. Like, they had to do it so often. To stop the bleeding, they actually gave me more Pitocin. They said that they always give people more Pitocin afterwards to keep their uterus contracting, to make it firmer. But I got like an extra round of Pitocin, so that stopped the bleeding, or slowed it down, stopped the hemorrhage, I guess. They were gonna take my epidural out of my back, my epidural like insert thing, and they were like, oh, we're not gonna do that. And I asked why, and they said, just in case we have to take you back to surgery because of my bleeding. So I was just kind of crazy, and then I forgot, like I was so tired, I think because I bled so much. She was 8 pounds, 12 ounces, so she was a big baby. And, they were doing my stitches, and there was just so much going on. Like, it was chaos, I feel like. But it was crazy when they're like, it's a girl. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, of course it is. Like, everyone thought I was a girl. I mean, most people thought it was a girl. Some people thought it was a boy, but I was like, just so happy. Yeah, it was just, I feel like I didn't know how chaotic it was after birth. Like, they're getting your placenta, they're giving me stitches, people are taking care of the baby. It's just like, I don't know, I felt like it was nuts. But also, it was like right during shift change when I was done giving birth. So then they were like having all the new nurses come in and figure out their stuff, and it was just, there was a lot of people. I got to hold Amelia for a little bit, and we had my parents come bring us Subway, and I wanted them to meet her so badly because I just wanted to show her off. So my mom got to hold her for about maybe 2 minutes. But then the baby's doctor came in and was like, we're gonna take her to the special care nursery. Usually they stay in the rooms with new parents, but they, had to take her away. So that was really sad. But I also was so tired that I was thankful that she was in good hands, because I don't know if I bled so much, I think, and I was just so exhausted that I needed to just sleep, even though I didn't sleep. I don't think I slept for like 5 days because we were in the hospital for 4 nights and I was just full of adrenaline. So they took her away, and of course I cried, and Chandler went and visited her while I got cleaned up, and he took a picture, and I was like, I want to see her. And he's like, well, it's gonna make you upset. And I was like, I don't care, I want to see her. And the picture was just really sad because she was hooked up to the CPAP and had IV and was in like the bubble container thing. So it was just, I cried again, and it was just sad. But I was just also so happy that we had, like, I just think it was just surreal, like such a surreal experience. And then the next day, we went to visit her in the nursery, and I was in a wheelchair, of course. Like, that was just a lot of healing, having an episiotomy. And they were still, pressing on my uterus, like every 3 hours, every 2 to 3 hours, they would come in and check it. That night she was on the CPAP, they were able to take her off the CPAP, but then she had to stay in the nursery for another like 12 hours or something, and then they could take her IVs out, and then she had to stay in the nursery for another like 12 hours to be monitored without the CPAP and without her IVs. And then it was like she had to stay another 24 hours in the hospital, so we had to stay there for another 24 hours. And then they were like, she does have slightly elevated levels of jaundice, so since she's here, we're gonna put her in the jaundice light. So when she was back in our room, we really didn't even get to see her that much because she had an eye mask on to protect her eyes from the light, and she hated the mask. It was so sad. She cried every time we put it on. Finally, the day we left, we were so excited. We left the hospital and everyone's healthy and happy. It's been a whirlwind, but it is so great. I love being a mom. There's literally nothing in life that's made me this happy. It's been so fun seeing Chandler be a girl dad. He goes shopping like for groceries or something, and he comes back with a bunch of outfits and fun, cute little bows and stuff. I'm like, she's gonna like shopping with you better than she likes shopping with me. What the heck? Because he's not gonna be able to say no to her. Everyone's met her now. She will be a month on August 2nd. I just love her so much. But yeah, we were in the hospital for 5 days. We did move rooms too to a more comfortable bed like halfway through. So that was nice. My bed was way more comfortable, but I wasn't even able to sleep because I would hear a baby crying and I would picture Amelia. It was like 3 a.m. and Chandler wheeled me down because I'm like, I want to see her, I want to cuddle her, I want to feed her. So he would wheel me down at 3 a.m. and then I would just stare at her like for hours, and we were just in the nursery together. It was kind of nice though because they were able to teach me how exactly to feed her. I don't know, it was just kind of nice that I had their guidance. I feel like now that we're at about 4 weeks with her, we're getting into a better routine, figuring stuff out with her. That is where I've been. I really cannot wait for fall because Chandler and I want to do all the fun family fall activities together with her. She'll be a little bit older and it'll be cooler outside. Like, I thought we were going to be going on stroller walks every day. It is so hot outside. She starts sweating immediately, and I'm a new parent and want her to be in a comfortable environment. So we haven't really been going on lots of walks, but also I've been healing and she's happy just snuggling on the couch. Yeah, I'm excited to vlog though with her for the first time. She's my little bestie, and I think she's actually waking up right now. So I will end this video here, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm so excited to be back. I don't know how consistent I will be here on YouTube these next months because I'm just filming when I can and editing when I can. I'm hoping to do 1 video a week. That would be my dream goal. So we'll see how it works. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you in my next video. Bye.